It's always so difficult to know which boat to take out in the morning. It really is. There's so many to choose from. How about a catamaran? Yeah, they're a bit big though, and no, I'm not in the mood for a catamaran. Decisions, decisions, decisions. I don't know. Wait a minute. Yeah, that's the one. That one there. That one. The blue one. One with the blue hull. Perfect. It'll match my trousers. Job done.
Hello, today's subject is idioms in English connected to shipping and the sea. It's hardly surprising that there are so many idioms in English about this subject. Britain is an archipelago of islands after all, and has been a global trading nation for many, many centuries. But before we get into that, where does the word yacht come from? The word yacht is the same in many European languages, and it in fact comes from Dutch, from the Dutch word jacht or jacht. I'm not sure that's the right pronunciation. Anyway, attached to the Dutch word ship became jachtschip, which meant attack ship. It was a Dutch naval vessel for attacking other ships. So the ancestors of all these boats here were predatory ships. Before we get on to the idioms, if you enjoy this episode, please click the like and subscribe buttons and share it with a friend. They don't have to be interested in sailing. Let's go with idiom number one. Number one, batten down the hatches. It means prepare for trouble. On wooden sailing ships, the hatches on the deck were what gave access to the hold, the inside of the ship. When a storm or hurricane was coming, you battened down the hatches, you prepared for trouble. Number two, as the crow flies. This is a very old expression. What it means nowadays is the most direct route between two places in a straight line. From here to that city is 6 miles, 8 kilometres, as the crow flies, in a straight line. This goes right back to Viking times. The Vikings were great navigators, and they succeeded with very limited technology. But most Viking ships carried crows on board. And what would happen is when they needed to find out if there was land nearby, a crew member would go up onto the mast and sit on the crow's nest, you may be familiar with that term, and release a crow. The crow would fly off and instinctively make for land. If there was land nearby, even if it was out of sight, the crow would not return. And then all they had to do was follow the same route as the crow, the same direction as the crow. If the crow came back, they knew land was not around. Number three, to run a tight ship. In other words, to have someone or something under strict control. So the boss of this organisation runs a very tight ship. Everything is under control, everything is organised well. Probably comes from the rigging, all the ropes on a sailing ship. If the ropes are tight and well tied down in position, then the ship is well organised. Number four, left high and dry. Left in a difficult situation alone to manage this difficult situation. Probably comes from the time in tidal waters, in other words like northwestern Europe, where ships were beached in the evening. So they were brought in and they waited for the tide to go out and the ships would settle on the beach. Obviously you cannot move those ships. They are high, they are above the waterline, and dry because they're out of the water, and they would be damaged if you tried to move them any other way. You have to wait for the tide to come in and refloat the boats. Number five, to show your true colours. In other words, to show what you're really like. Ships would often fly different colours. Colours are flags. They might fly the colours of a neutral nation. Pirates would often fly the colours of a nation's merchant fleet and pretend to be a cargo ship until they got close enough to their victims. But navies were not averse to doing this as well. So that was show your true colours. Number six, a loose cannon. No, a cannon with two ends. A cannon with one end is a kind of priest, and I don't know what a loose one of those would be like. By the way, I don't know about you, but I really think that it would be a good idea to get rid of these double consonants when they make no difference at all. Think of all the toner we would save. Worldwide, how much toner would not be used in printing all of these unnecessary letters. Anyway, a loose cannon. In warships, the cannons were big, heavy, powerful instruments. They were tied to the side of the ship. When they fired, the recoil would send them flying backwards, and then the ropes would restrain them. The crew would reload, and they would haul the cannon back towards the hole, the porthole, where the cannon fired from. If the ropes were damaged in a battle, that cannon would be loose. It could roll around the deck, and as they weighed several tons, they could kill a lot of people. The meaning of a loose cannon nowadays is someone who is unpredictable and potentially dangerous, often used even in working environments. Don't give that job to him, it needs diplomacy. He's a bit of a loose cannon. In other words, he could offend a lot of people. Or someone who is unpredictable in that way. Number 7, to show someone the ropes, or for somebody to know the ropes. In other words, somebody to be good at their job, to know the ropes, or you show somebody the ropes. You show somebody how to do something. You show somebody, for example, maybe they've started a new job. I'll show you the ropes. I'll show you how to get everything done in this place. Comes from, obviously, from the time of sailing ships, when, in order to navigate a sailing ship, there were hundreds, if not thousands, of ropes that operated different sails, and a sailor needed to know what each one of those did. So, showing you the ropes, showing which rope to pull to achieve which effect. Number 8, POSH. P-O-S-H. POSH means to have upper class mannerisms or to be from high society. It seems it comes from the late 17th or the late 18th or the early 19th century of the Oriental Steam Navigation Company. And it basically meant port, the left side of the ship. I did a video on that some time ago. Port out, starboard, home. So you stayed on the port side of the ship, the left side of the ship, going to India. Because if you're on that side of the ship, you had less exposure to the sun and it was more comfortable. So that people with more money could pay for those cabins on the port side. Going out to India, returning from India, they would be on the starboard, the right-hand side of the ship, for the same reasons. These cabins cost more, and so only the rich could afford them. Number 9, to turn a blind eye to something. In other words, to pretend not to see it. This goes back to the Napoleonic Wars. In 1908, the Royal Navy was fighting an action in Copenhagen, and in fact it was called the Battle of Copenhagen. What a coincidence. Anyway, things were not going that well, and the senior admiral, Admiral Parker, sent a signal to his deputy, Vice Admiral Nelson, who later won the Battle of Trafalgar, that he should retreat. Signals were sent by flags in those days. Now Nelson was blind in one eye from a war injury some time ago, and according to the officers on his flagship, he put his telescope to the blind eye, to the socket where there was no eye, and said, "I don't see any instructions telling us to retreat." He went on and won the battle. So, turn a blind eye to something, pretend you cannot see it. Number 10, all hands on deck. Effectively, this is quite simple. It means everybody needs to take part in the activity that we're doing. Everybody is needed. People who worked on ships were known as hands, naval hands, and so all hands on deck, all hands need to be out on the deck dealing with the crisis. Number 11, a long shot. Effectively it means doing something which has a small chance of success but is worth trying. Again, it's a military term. When you fired a cannon from a ship at long range, it was unlikely to hit the other ship, but if it did, that would be great. And number 12, at the helm. The helm is effectively the steering wheel of the ship. So the person who's at the helm is the person who is in charge, is controlling the ship. And this may have been the case in Viking times, for example. Obviously later on, the helmsman was not the person in charge. It was the captain who told the helmsman which direction to steer in. But the idiom has survived until this day. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any ideas about other idioms which you'd like me to explore, please leave a comment in the space down below. And please share it with your friends, as I said. Bye for now.